Hola compañeros, buenos días. Soy Profe Broom. Aquí en este video vamos a hablar de los verbos que cambian de raíz, como el verbo dormir, que cambia de raíz, como nosotros hablamos ayer en clase. La letra O cambia a UE en este verbo. ¿Sí? Today we're going to look at the verbs that are on the pink sheet. If you have not yet received a pink sheet, you will get one tomorrow in class. For today, you can follow along with the sheet that I will be showing in Edpuzzle, which is accessible via Google Classroom. ¿Sí? Bien. Compañeros, we do have a lot of verbs to talk about today on the front and the back of this pink sheet, ¿verdad? But I like to start with the example of dormir because it is a verb that we are familiar with since Spanish 1. The verb dormir is a stem changer where the letter O changes to a UE. I'll do it in green here. Okay. And remember, the reason that we call these verbs stem changers is because it is the stem that changes. Okay, it's the vowel in the stem that changes. The letter O is going to change to a UE in the verb dormir. See, there's two parts of a verb. There is the stem or the prefix or the root, right? In this case, dorm, like dorm room or dormant or dormitory. See? And then there's the suffix of the verb, which in this case, an IR verb, dormir. It's an IR verb. It's not an AR verb. It's not an ER verb. It's not an IR verb. Or it's an IR verb, ¿verdad? Bien. So when we change the suffixes, it's going to be the same endings as you would expect in an IR verb in any case, ¿verdad? Dormir, it's an IR verb, so your stem changes are O, E, or excuse me, your new endings are O, Es, E, Imos, Is, En. But what's different about dormir is it also gets the stem change. The letter O changes to a UE, ¿verdad? So you don't say yo dormo, ¿verdad? You say yo duermo. Tú duermes. Él, ella, usted duerme. Ellos, ellas, ustedes duermen. But remember, when you're outside of the boot shape, hence the nosotros and vosotros conjugations, you do not apply the stem change. And that's why we call these verbs boot verbs. See? So, if you need to take a moment to refresh yourself what the ordinary endings are for AR verbs, ER verbs, and IR verbs, now would be a good time to see this chart. Okay, it's the same chart that I have in my classroom, the green one, for AR verbs, o, as, a, amos, ais, an. For ER verbs, o, es, e, emos, eis, en. And for IR verbs, o, es, e, imos, is, en. Okay. Now there are three main types of stem changers in Spanish. Okay. There actually are four in total, but we're only going to talk about three because the fourth one, U to UEs, there's only one verb in Spanish that gets that stem change. Excuse me. The verb jugar. So we're not even going to talk about U to UEs. We're going to talk about E to IE stem changers, E to I stem changers, and O to UE stem changers. So let's start with E to IE stem changers. Okay, we have a whole list of them on our vocabulary for this section of the unit. If you don't have a pink sheet yet, you can go into Google Classroom and find unit vocabulary, Spanish 2 vocabulary. And we are still in Unit 1. I believe that's the only folder you will find here. Correct. And my internet at home is very, very slow. I do apologize. Verbs with stem changing, stem vowel changing, stem changing vowels. See? So again, if you do not have the pink sheet in your possession, you can look on here. So the first section that we talk about are verbs that change from E to IE in Spanish, right? Pensar, empezar, entender. Entender is funny because there's 3 E's in this verb. If there's ever more than 1 E, it's always the second one, unless the second one is the ER in the suffix. For example, perder, you wouldn't give it a stem change in the suffix, so it has to be the first one. In empezar, though, there's 2 E's. It's never going to be the first one. It would always be the second one. So entender is a great example. It's going to be that middle one that gets the stem change, the E to IE. Preferir, calentar, cerrar, comenzar, atravesar, y querer. These are just a few examples out of many, many verbs that could get an E to IE stem change. And then pensar, of course, we have here. So let's look at our example here. We're using the verb pensar. So again, the endings that pensar is going to get are regular AR endings. So when you look at our chart here, right, an AR verb in the yo form gets an O, and the to form gets an as. Él, ella, usted, a, nosotros, amos, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes, an. But again, what's going to be different here is that you get this stem change. This E changes to an IE when it's inside the boot conjugations, right? And right now we're not seeing it in the form of a boot, so I hope this doesn't kind of mess you up. Right now what you basically have to remember is that nosotros and vosotros do not get the stem change, right? But every other form is going to get the stem change. That E is going to change to an IE. Okay? But again, nosotros and vosotros do not get the stem change. Why? Because if you want to think about it like a shoe or a boot, the nosotros and vosotros form would be outside the boot. So that's kind of a theory that language teachers put together to explain it. Okay? So that's a little bit about E to IE stem changers. Let's look at E to I. Okay, on our list, this is going to be the very bottom of the list here. I've given you some: seguir, pedir, medir, elegir. So in elegir, it's going to be this second E. Okay, medir, it's going to be this E, pedir, this E, seguir, this E. You change these to an I. Okay, they don't get an E after the I like an E to IE stem changers. They're just E to I. See? So which one are we going to be looking at here? We're going to look at pedir, which means to ask for something. See? So pedir, we can see it is an IR verb. So if we were to go back and look, IR verbs are going to get the endings o, es, e, imos, is, en. So hopefully that's what we did here. See? O, es, e, imos, is, en. Good. But now, again, inside the boot, or in this case, we don't have a boot, but the nosotros and vosotros forms will not get that E to I stem change. Every other conjugation will. The infinitive form of pedir is spelled with an E, but we're going to change that E to an I because it's an E to I stem changer. So, pido, pides, pide, piden. But again, outside the boot, you don't have to change anything. Pedimos, pedis. So that is an example there of an E to I stem changer. And then lastly, we have the group of stem changing verbs that change from a O to a UE. So let's look at our list. We've got a couple rows of these. We have volar, encontrar, volver, morir, recordar, dormir, almorzar, poder, costar. Okay, one that's not on this list is contar, to tell or to count, like you're counting. Cuento. I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this is contar is an AR verb. So again, we're going to get the same endings, o, as, a, amos, ais, an, as we did with pensar, because they're both AR verbs, right? But here, the stem, the O in the stem is going to change to a UE, just like we saw with dormir. Dormir is an O to UE stem changer, okay? Much like contar. So, yo form cuento, tu form cuentas, el ella form cuenta, ellos ellas form cuentan, but the nosotros and vosotros form, remember, do not get the stem change. Contamos, contáis. Bien. So I hope that this little graphic here has helped you understand the theory behind stem changing verbs. Remember, there are three main types. There are E to IEs, E to Is, and O to UEs. And there is also one verb in the Spanish language that gets a U to UE stem changer. Jugar. Since it's only one verb, we don't really spend a whole lot of time talking about it, okay? So again, let's do dormir one more time. First step is we gotta get rid of this letter O when we're conjugating it, okay? This letter O has to change to a UE, and that's in the stem. We're not going to worry about the IR for now. We're just going to rewrite our stem here for all of them. The stem is dorm, but the O in dorm changes to a UE, so it's going to change to duerm. Okay, so duerm. Duerm. And down here, we're also going to say duerm. And this is the new stem. The new prefix of the verb is duerm, right? We change that O to a UE, and this is our new root. Now, all we have to do is add our suffixes, okay? Our new endings. And remember, it's an IR verb, so simple enough. We just look. IR verbs, yo form gets an O, tu form gets eis, LA is instead e. Vosotros imos, vosotros is, ellos, ellas, y ustedes en. So that's pretty simple. We'll just add our new suffixes. Yo duermo, tú duermes, él, ella, usted duerme, ellos, ellas, ustedes duermen. Now, nosotros and vosotros. Remember, these ones are not going to get a stem change. They're going to keep the letter O. The letter O is not going to change to a UE. And, of course, it's an IR verb. Nosotros form gets an imos. Vosotros form gets an accented is. So, there we have it. Change these to red to have a little bit of consistency. And now, quick reminder, why do we call these boot verbs sometimes? Most people agree they're called stem changing verbs, stem vowel changing verbs. Let's see, what are there other ways I've heard them referred to as stem changing verbs, or there's several ways to refer to them, but Spanish teachers sometimes like to call them boot verbs. And the reason we would call them boot verbs is because if you draw a shape around the ones that get the stem change, it would be in the shape of a boot if you are writing out your subjects in these 2 rows of 5, like most world language teachers list subjects this way. See? And again, nosotros and vosotros don't get the stem change, so they are outside of this boot shape. Okay? So, compañeros, that is a little bit about stem changing verbs, verbos que cambian de raíz. Okay? What I do recommend doing today, because remember your next quiz is going to be on the philosophy of how you conjugate these, and it will also be on some of these new verbs that we are going to be learning about. So when you're in class this week, you will be making boots. Each student will have a different verb, and they will be in charge of making a boot. And your boots will look a lot better than mine, okay? It's going to be kind of a little art project. Most students will have a nice kind of boot like this, okay? You'll have a background, solid color. You'll cut out the design of a shoe or a boot that you want to use. You'll use markers and colored pencils to, write the conjugations in. You'll use a different color to show your stem change. You'll have your subjects in the margins. So you're going to make a visual representation of a stem changing verb like this, okay? So, and then you'll present it in a Flipgrid video, and then your compañeros will have something to study. But you are going to be held responsible to know what some of these mean, as well as how to conjugate all of them if I give you the stem change, okay? So you have a little bit of work to do when it comes to, I don't want to say cramming these, but acquiring a list of additional verbs apart from the standard verbs that we learned in Spanish 1, okay? So I would recommend going into Quizlet, and if you don't have this pink sheet, go into Google Classroom, remember, and click on Unit Vocabulary. We're in Unit 1, and this is called Verbs with Stem Vowel Changes. See? And you could say, I'm going to plug these into a Quizlet and learn them. Bien. Gracias, compañeros. That is all that I have for you today. Muchas gracias y hasta mañana. Gracias.